Welcome to Love, Life, and Medicine.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Love, Life, and Medicine podcast. I'm your host, Azuka.
Maxine.
Xiomara.
And today we have some fun topics to talk about and discuss. First, we're going to talk about a healthy hot topic regarding Beyonce and pre-eclampsia, which I never even knew she had. And then we'll go into some lifestyle and misadventures and maybe discuss some estate planning later on.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's get to it.
So, as we were talking behind scenes, May is Women's Health Month, right? And that's why we came up with the topic of pre-eclampsia and Beyonce's story. So basically, when she was pregnant with the twins, she had pre-eclampsia and was rushed and had emergency C-section to deliver the twins. And I think this was during that whole project with the big project that came out. I forgot the name of it. She had the big project with the dance.
Oh, at Coachella? Coachella.
I believe so. I think it was before that. I don't exactly remember when she had her twins.
When she was dressed in when she was dressed in the HBCU stuff?
I believe so.
The Netflix special?
So. Yeah, I believe so. Because that special, that's when she discussed her experience of being
when she had I know what you're talking about. She had the documentary.
Yeah, that was her Coachella performance.
Was that Coachella?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, she was discussing
also known as that big thing.
Trying to get her body back and what she experienced, So that preeclampsia is a big deal, especially among Black mothers, Black women, right? And last month, April, there was a week of Black maternal health. So I think this is a great topic for us to discuss. Preeclampsia is a pregnancy condition after 20 weeks where your blood pressure is elevated, and it will, in addition to that, have an effect on one of the organs. Mostly it's either the liver and or the kidney. And in cases, at least the symptoms that we see in the emergency department, patients will come in with extremely swelling of their legs, their hands, complaining of headaches, shortness of breath. They'll have a lot of protein in their urine. Vision problems, some abdominal pain sometimes. So these are some signs that we always look out for, especially in the emergency department, during pregnancy or even after, where we, contact OBGYN and get them on board. So what are your thoughts about Beyonce's situation and her bringing this to light and how this affects Black women?
Yeah, I didn't even know that Beyonce had preeclampsia, but I think it's one of those illnesses that's very common amongst pregnant women, but the signs are so variable. Like we say all these signs, but somebody may have just blurry vision, so it's good to talk about it because I think I'm going off of my pregnancy, I think as Black women and sometimes just people of color, we feel like we don't say how we're feeling. We just grit and bear, or we don't feel comfortable talking about it. So I think it's good that she brought awareness to it because it's something that you have to call your gynecologist and say, something's not right. I did it once when I was pregnant with my son. I was at work. I was in the ICU and I was just not feeling well. I took my blood pressure at the hospital, was elevated. I called my doctor and she told me to come right in. It was nothing, but what if it was something, right? Because we're growing a whole other life. So I think it's really important to be vocal about it if you're having any issues when you're pregnant. It may not be preeclampsia, but what if it is?
That's true.
Yeah.
I've never been pregnant, so I don't know that, but I can assume that, it's something that's, kind of scary. And also, I've been reading about preeclampsia, and just what you said, Azuka, is everybody's symptoms are variable. And I know they say if you're elevated at 140 over 90, but if you naturally run low at 100 over 50, then 120 over 70 would be your high, correct?
So at least with what I've seen with the OBs, I don't think they would jump on that, even though that would be your high as preeclampsia. At least from what I've seen. You know, when I try to consult them on some of these patients, they really go with that blood pressure limit.
Of 140?
Yeah, from what I have seen, in addition to symptoms and also that 20-week mark. Because before that, they would say that it's this chronic hypertension. But if it's not
our question is, you know, what are the identifying? Maxine kind of talked about some of the what the criteria for preeclampsia. But let's say you're just a normal pregnant woman at home, and you notice your feet are swelling more than usual. You know, you feel tired. Do you wait it out? Like what? Like I tend to be on the call the doctor for everything side. So and I had my OB's cell phone number, so I could text her like if she could be like, okay, don't or but I was probably in their ED like anytime I felt something. So like, what should women take home from this? Like, what should we do if we don't feel right? Do we just wait a little bit, or I know
call the doctor for everything?
I say sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. So yeah, I agree. I feel like if you don't feel right, then you should call your doctor and and they will establish. They'll of course speak with you and get a triage so that they can figure out how significant your symptoms are. Depending on that triage on the phone, they'll tell you either come to the office, the OBED, or maybe go to the emergency department if there's no OBED. So I don't think you should sit down and try to figure it out yourself. You should feel comfortable to speak with your physician or women's health provider when it comes to a situation during pregnancy or outside of pregnancy.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah. Definitely. I just found that it's a blood pressure of greater than 140 over 90.
Yeah.
Where that's the criteria. And then I think are they still using urine protein in their urine?
Yeah.
Protein in their urine.
Yeah.
And again, these are all diagnostic. Like if you come in, these are what doctors used to determine. At home, if you're not feeling right, I would just say go in and call your OB, or go to the emergency room. Especially if you stop feeling like fetal movement. I always err on the side of I'd rather go in and tell me it's not anything and annoy them and be the annoying patient that's always there, or than something happening.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
You don't want to play with that when you're pregnant. So
yeah.
And I think that's why it's important too during your regular visits to have conversations with your OB so that you can be aware of what signs to look out for and know what signs are normal and what signs are abnormal. So that you can address
All right, guys, we're
that.
having some technical issues.
And if you are able to, having somebody with you, that could also speak up on your behalf.
Yep. Keeping a journal, writing things down, because sometimes you might forget what your question is.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think in healthcare, you just have to take charge of it. Ask questions. Don't assume that physicians know everything or that, we have all the answers. We do have most of them, and we can at least help guide, your planning, your diagnosis and stuff. But we also need you to tell us what's happening. So if something's happening, please, I'll have I'm an anesthesiologist, but I'll have when I see patients before I take them to the OR, and even on OB, when I'm doing epidurals or we're going back for a C-section, if I need to sit with you for 30 to 45 minutes to listen to your concerns, I'll do that, because I find that a lot of times patients will give you the information that you need.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But that's good for Beyonce. I mean, she had 2 beautiful kids. So, and it's good that I'm glad she talked about it. I just wish I didn't see it anywhere. I don't know. Maybe I was studying for something at the time. I don't know.
Yeah, you might have been studying because that was a big deal. That's why she canceled Coachella.
Really?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God! I did not know.
She said she'll come back
canceled because she was pregnant.
A year or 2, something like that. That's why she canceled Coachella.
Because she was pregnant, or because she had preeclampsia?
She was pregnant. She was having a difficult pregnancy. And then she came out with saying that she had preeclampsia.
Okay, I didn't know that. I had no clue. I know other people, like, I think Serena Williams had PE.
Yeah.
She had a PE, and then the judge's daughter-in-law had the hemorrhage.
Yeah,
man. So when I was doing research on all of this, when I was in residency and stuff, the problem is that people see a lot of young women tend to be pregnant, right? They have no really comorbidities. They're like usually healthy, pregnant. So you just view them as healthy pregnant people. But pregnancy itself, there's a lot of debate whether, so in anesthesiology, we have a classification. ASA 1 is like a perfectly healthy patient. Any patient that's pregnant, we say ASA 2, because we see pregnancy almost as being a pathology. Not that it's a bad thing, it's a great thing, but it does a lot of things to the woman's body. And there are a lot of things that you have to, it's not just the woman that's pregnant. It's like a whole, like she's having all these things happening to her body. So you have to be very careful and not just treat them as a healthy patient. So there are a lot of things that it's a miracle, actually. It's actually a beautiful thing because a lot of things can go wrong during pregnancy. So it's important as physicians that we listen. See, you never know. You might have a patient come in talking about her legs are swollen and her feet are swollen, and she might be, 24 weeks pregnant. It's something to think about, I mean, we could all see it, is what I'm trying to say.
Of course, yeah.
No,
yeah.
I actually did have a patient who, when I first saw her, she was maybe like 37 or 36 weeks pregnant, and she's a tiny little thing. She was young, very, very young, in her early 20s, tiny little thing, maybe like 5 foot, 5'1", and I thought she was so cute because she was just like so swollen, but like that probably wasn't, a good reason why I thought she was cute. But like she had like her little ankles had rolls, and you could tell that she is a small person, maybe soaking wet, weighed $120, but you could tell like all of her weight was like water weight, like it was she was very, very swollen. And I was just really surprised how swollen she was, like I'm not exaggerating, it almost looked like she was a stretched out balloon. And that was at 37 weeks, so she almost was gonna have her baby. And then when she came back months later, it came to find out that she did have preeclampsia. She was undiagnosed, and she had a stillbirth.
Oh no!
Because of it, yeah.
Oh no!
Or that's what she thinks.
Yeah.
But basically, the doctors at the time kind of ignored her. Ignored her concerns. She was concerned that she was really swollen, and that this wasn't normal. And she was saying that she didn't have a really high blood pressure, at least not to the standards of 140/90. But everything else she had. So, and there was nothing wrong with the baby pathologically, I guess you can say. So they're thinking that it was because she had preeclampsia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's scary. It's really scary.
It's very scary because she was, if I'm not mistaken, she was either between 21 or 23.
Wow.
We're talking about older pregnancies, but this definitely happens with younger pregnancies as well.
Yeah.
And when we're talking about, everyone talks about when you get pregnant, you get swollen, but when does that become a concern, when that is just like over the limit, So
yeah, that happened to me after I had my son. I never had any issues with swollen legs or ankles, but after I had my son, it was so scary that I took my own blood pressure. and it was a little elevated. So I called my doctor, and she like kind of talked me through it, and she didn't. She didn't tell me to come. The problem is, it could be a lot of other things, you know. But at least you have to have the conversation, you know, and and then we as physicians have to listen, because I think, you know, a lot of the issues, a lot of the data is showing that, okay, a lot of Black women don't have access to care, but then when they get access and establish care with somebody, they don't hear them, or they don't listen, or they're treated poorly, you know? So I think we also have to, like, okay, we're the doctor and the patient, we know better, but we also have to be very open-minded and just listen, get the test, check the urine, you know? Because that could save a life.
Yeah, I agree.
Save 2 lives.
2 lives, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, yep. That's one. You know?
And preeclampsia is not just when you don't just get preeclampsia when you're pregnant. You can have it after.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can develop preeclampsia after. Yeah.
6 weeks.
Yeah. I know some people that had preeclampsia.
Yeah, I've seen people come in from postpartum preeclampsia, and also if preeclampsia isn't diagnosed, it can move on to eclampsia, where they have seizures.
Yeah.
So we've seen that in the emergency department, where it wasn't diagnosed and the person had seizures. So it's very scary, very important. And as you were saying, it doesn't matter who you are. You can be rich, you can be poor, you can be educated, you can be uneducated. Anyone can have preeclampsia. So, of course, there are certain things that increase the risk of getting it, such as, you know, smoking and chronic other comorbidities and things of that nature. But it's just about being aware, having a good support system, having a medical system or, you know, birthing team that will listen to you and are supportive.
Yeah,
that's key.
The team effort. Yeah.
Wow.
All right.
Y'all really gave y'all lives for y'all kids.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. Yes.
Now I get it. Like, you look back.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, you understand why sometimes your mom they are what they say.
Because you're like, I went through all this. Yes, a lot of sacrifice. So the problem with getting pregnant is, I used to think before I got pregnant, as you just get pregnant, you have a baby. There's so many things, like from the day you find out you're pregnant, that can go wrong, that you don't know until it happens. And then you're just like, it's a whole process. It's a whole process.
It's a beautiful,
comfortable.
Y'all really gave y'all lives.
It's true. It's true. But it's a beautiful, but what I'll say is, out of all the things I've ever done, it's the best thing I've ever done.
Aww.
And the best reward. Hands down. Hands down. When he throws his little tantrum and tells me that he doesn't want to do it and throws himself on the floor, I'm just like, yes, this is all I did it for.
You're like,
wow.
Really?
Hey, welcome back, you guys. We just took a little short break. Okay, so we're going to kind of pivot. We talked about, issues when you become a mother or you're pregnant. And now we're going to talk about our relationships with our mothers, and how it is being a mom. I'm not a mom, so I can't really speak on that. So that's not what I'm going to talk about. But I am going to talk about the relationships with our mothers, or if you don't have your mother, or you didn't know your mom, just mother figures in your life, and how we look at them as children, and how we look at them now that we're adults, or for, I guess, you and Maxine and Azuka, how you guys look at your moms and your mother figures in your life now that you guys are mothers. So I think this is a great topic. I love it because I love my mom. And as a kid, my mom would always be like, I'm not your little friend. And I think she set a good boundary because she was an older mom. She had me at 33, I believe, or 34. I think it was 33 or 34. So I think it allowed her to set boundaries, but it also allowed me to kind of respect her as a kid. And now that I'm an adult, like, since it's just me, like I'm the only child, I don't really see her as that mother-child relationship. Now it's more like mother-adult-child. So I feel like I can almost talk to her about anything. Not everything, because my mom sometimes could be a little annoying, but not in a bad way. Just like, she don't need to know everything. So with that being said, like, I cherish her so much more now that I'm an adult, because I see my mom as like a human, not just like mom, the person that gives me food, water, and shelter. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So I think, in my situation, my mom has now passed, but looking back at from younger stages, my mom was a very strict mom. And I feel like a lot of African moms are strict, But now that I'm older, I understand why she was, right? Because she wanted to make sure that she was able to give me the best. She wanted to make sure that I was able to accomplish, my goals. Didn't want me to make any certain mistakes that could basically affect the rest of my life. So I understand why she was the way she was. And it's interesting now because becoming a mom, trying to find that balance of being the disciplinarian, but also not being too hard. I don't know if that's the right word, but not being too strict, if that makes sense. I don't know. Like, so trying to find that balance and this whole new thing about this whole gentle parenting thing. Like, and I think that's very new age kind of parenting style that I wasn't used to. I was used to, like, if you did something, you would get a spanking, and trying to take time to really discuss, like, what's going on with my toddler, because that could be very difficult, and especially at that developmental stage that they're in. So it's interesting, like, trying to find this whole balance as now as being a mom, but I'm learning every single day and giving myself grace. So, yeah.
Yeah, you definitely have to give yourself grace. That's important. Yeah. I have pretty much the same story. My mom is literally my best friend. But with that said, growing up, it was the same. She was my mom. I was the daughter. There were boundaries. But I think that relationship relaxed. I think as we get older, as I got older, and I had some of the same life experiences that she had, I kind of understand her a lot better now. Yeah. Like, I find myself going to my mom, oh, yeah, now I understand why you did this, that, and the third. I get it. Even not just with my being a mom, but just like in, work and, we're like, oh, why don't you just quit that job? Well, because like health insurance and this and that and, just
health insurance is real.
It's important. And not you get, once you have a family and you become an adult, you realize that. So, now we're like, I'm like you, Steve. I can tell my mom pretty much most everything. There's some things we don't talk about, but pretty much everything. But our relationship, I think because of the way it was before, it just got a lot better. And now I can empathize a lot more with her. I'm the same way, Maxine. I actually can never remember my mom actually hitting me, now that I think about it. Like, my dad was a punisher. It wasn't my mom. She was like, and my mom's a teacher, and my mom is also second generation Nigerian. So she kind of grew up here. Yeah. So she was a little bit more, let's talk, or, but she was still strict. Like, now that I think about it, in my childhood, I never like walked to the corner store or like walked down the street. I was always in the backyard or in the house. But now I'm trying to do, I know. Now I'm trying to do the same thing with, my son. We're trying to we don't do any corporal punishment, because I never really experienced that. So we try to talk and but again, boundaries. I think it's important for him to know I'm the mom, he's a child. We say what goes. But then you also see anything that I think that my mom didn't do that was perfect. She wasn't a perfect mom, but what mom is, it's now you're raising a human. Yeah. And you're doing it for the first time. Yeah. There's no like book. There's no like. I mean, there are books, but there's no like, script on how to. So you're learning. And my mom was young when she had us. Like she had me in college. So she was like young, but when I think of all the stuff that they did though when they had us, and I'm sitting here complaining with all the help in the world, it's like, wow. No, but yeah. Motherhood it's a blessing. And it's good that we had good examples. And Theo, you have a good example. Mm-hmm. When you have when you choose to have children, Mama Sonia will be a perfect example. Mm-hmm. Mm. Mm. Hey, can I tell you something? That is almost the same. It's worse, actually. One of my coworkers was like, I got a puppy. She was like, I got a puppy, and the puppy was up every 2 hours. I was like, that sounds like a newborn. She's like, yes.
Yeah, they do, yeah.
No, yeah, so.
She said, yeah, no.
I guess when I'm thinking about this conversation, one thing that I have in mind is what's one thing or attribute about your mom that you admire? If you have to choose. I know it's a lot of things, but if you have to choose one thing, since Mother's Day.
Resilience.
Let's celebrate.
My mom's resilience. Like my mom, something adverse happens. She like is already thinking about how to fix it, how to and she's calm and cool and just like fixes everything. I'm still trying to learn that. Like I'm still trying to be like, okay, something doesn't go my way. How do I try to solve it some other way? So I think her resilience is her biggest and patience is like her biggest, attribute.
Okay. I think my mom is fiercely loyal. Mm-hmm. Even when someone may not treat her right, I mean, if you want a roll dog, like she'll ride or die. That ain't me though. I ain't riding and dying. I need to know where we're going, why we're going.
Yes.
She's the person you call that, like, if you tell her, yo, Mom, I need you to pack the car up, get the car ready, because the police is after me. No questions asked. She's going to do it. That's not me. I'm going to ask you questions. So I do like that about her because she always sees the good in people. At first, I thought it was more of like a respectability complex, more like we always gotta like put our best foot forward because we don't want other people thinking bad about us. Like I thought it was always her thinking, what will people think of me? But what I realized from her parents, it's just her always thinking the best. Like if you keep trying to put your best foot forward, somebody will see through that and see that you're good regardless. So, everyone, falters and have their moments, but regardless through that, they'll look back and realize, this person really was a good person to me. And I still have to show up for them despite how I feel. And so my mom is that person that still shows up for people despite how they feel.
That's awesome. Yeah. So one thing that I admire about my mom, and to this day that I think about, is that she was very resourceful. So I grew up in a single parent household. So it was just my mom and 3 of us. So she did a lot as a single mom, and she was able to accomplish a lot compared to, like, when I think about, like, all the things, obstacles that she had to go through. And she left us, even was able to leave us 2 houses, like one in Ghana, one here. So for what she went through and the education level that she got to, which was just like high school, she was able to do a lot. So that for me has been more of a push, like, to be resourceful, to be strong. Like nothing can basically stop me from accomplishing anything that I want to accomplish.
That's dope.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
That's dope. What is one memory that now that you are parents, you take with you from childhood? Like something that your moms have told you over and over again that you see yourself doing now as a parent with your kids or implementing with your kids now?
I see. I guess for me, my mom, we went to church heavy growing up, and a lot of those things that she taught me and values have really stuck with me. So there was a lot of affirmations that she spoke in my life growing up about like how I saw myself, how God saw me, and things of that nature. And I see that I do that with my daughter, especially a lot when it comes to like bedtime, like getting ready to go to bed, and in terms of being, I'm proud of my skin color and my hair and things of that nature. So that's something that I'm really like focusing on with my daughter. Like the other time we washed her hair, because she had a braid, and she took it out, and she has a lot of shrinkage, and she was like, "Am I a boy?" Because it shrank, and I was like, "No, you're not." Yeah, and I was like, "No, you're not." Like we have different types of hair. You know, we have natural hair. I have natural hair, but we have different textures. My texture is different from hers. So I was just trying to like explain to her that her texture is still beautiful, because I know she goes to school with different races and not as many black children there. So I wanted to make sure that she understood that her texture was beautiful, her skin color was beautiful, and I continuously, you know, affirm that to her, so she knows that. But you know, having a daughter really made me like, I need to make sure that she gets this, you know.
Yeah, same thing for me, man. When I was, it wasn't until I went to college that I realized that my nose was like not like, that I had like a big nose, or I had like skin color that was like, I don't know, I guess my mom always just told us we were like beautiful and told us to love ourselves, and you know, so it was like not, I never had issues like body image issues really, like because my mom always instilled a sense of pride. Even like we didn't go to Nigeria till I was like 12 or 13, but we were always like, I always knew I was Nigerian. I was never like, I never wavered from that, because we were always going to meetings or functions, or so I do that with my son. Like I always like, there's one thing that me and Eden do, and I'm always like, who's smart? He says me. I'm always like letting him know that he's smart and that he's handsome, and the same thing, his hair texture, because he has, you know, kinky curly hair, that he's, you know, that he is. You know, I think the problem is that my mom recognized early on that we don't have a lot of people that look like us on TV, like especially back then. Now it's better, but even like books and toys and stuff. Yeah. So I try to do the same thing with him, just to let him know that he's enough, that he's smart, that he's handsome, and you know, just again giving him positive affirmations. My mom, if you heard my mom, my brother, my sister, and I talk, we say I love you for everything. We'll call each other for 2 seconds and be like, "Oh, can you take the chicken out of the fridge? Okay, bye, I love you."
That's awesome.
So I do that with my son a lot. We're always saying I love you, and we're very affectionate with him, and we're always hugging, and you know, just all that stuff. I don't know. I think it's important to do that. So same thing.
Okay, all right, that's good. I like that. Do you feel that? Now I'm gonna ask you another question. It's gonna be a little controversial. So you said that. Do you feel like the "I love you" thing is new, or do you feel like your whole family always says "I love you" all the time?
Oh, my family said I'm not even joking. We say I love you all of the time. We're even my husband makes fun of us because we always like are saying I love you. You know, my husband's family, they all love each other. I know, because they'll ride or die with each other, but they're not like an I love you, hug you type of people. I kind of forced him to get into it. Now when he calls and we talk, like, okay, I love you, bye. I don't know. I think it's a good thing. I think it's like, first of all, I always think about it, and maybe this is my like neuroses weighing in, but I always feel like you never know when the last time you're going to see somebody. Even when I drop my son off at school, I tell him I love him. We chat. Like my husband, we say I love you, because you never know when the last time you're going to see somebody. So I always think in those terms. So I try to let our last interaction be like that.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I think for me growing up, I do remember hearing I love you, but maybe we weren't as frequent, like the way you're describing your situation as. So I definitely also wanted to make sure that was something that I maintain in my marriage as well as my family. But it's interesting. I think in a lot of African homes, maybe I don't want to say a lot, but I think most that I've heard, they do love their kids, but they don't actually verbalize that.
Yeah.
And so my husband's family, I know they love him too, but it's true. I didn't see that as much. So it's one thing that I'm trying to make sure. And it's interesting because the grandparents live with us. So now, because my daughter is like that, she'll say that to her grandparents, and they also live with her. So it's interesting how it's changing. Because I don't think that they really said that to him
before
up as much,
Yeah, same. I wonder if I don't know if it's a African thing about the whole "I love you" thing. I don't know. Again, I'm different because my mom was born here, so I don't know if that had anything to do with it. She was born here, then went back to Nigeria, and then came here for high school, and college. So I don't know. I feel like she experienced America a lot more than my dad. I feel like here things are more free, and I don't know. I don't know. Not that Nigeria is not free, but here is less.
You're comparing
stuffy.
Something shifted.
Oh,
you're right.
Sorry.
Okay, yeah.
It's me, yeah. No, mine.
Okay. Yeah,
okay.
I don't know about necessarily how if African parents say "I love you." I know that in Hispanic households we're very much lovey-dovey. It's very much "I love you, give me a hug," the double kiss. Hug all the time. So I think that that's just a normal thing. Even with my grandparents, whenever they're leaving the house, whenever you're leaving the house, you're saying "I love you," double kiss before you leave. I know my grandfather would be like, "You're gonna leave before kissing me goodbye?" So it's that was always set in. I think for my dad, it probably was. I don't know. I don't know what. I can't speak on his childhood, but I can say that it wasn't natural for him to always say "I love you." I think since I spent a lot more time with my mom's side of the family. I would say it all the time to him, and he would kind of get in line, And when he spent time with our family, they would do the same, hugging all the time before you leave, the kissing all the time before you leave. So I think he kind of just fell in line. But I can't speak on what his family would do or not do.
It's just interesting the different cultural the ways people love people have different love languages. Different cultures have different love languages. You can be on the outside looking and say, "Oh, those people don't love each other," but they're would die and they are best of friends. It's just different ways you express it.
Yeah, they definitely express their love differently. I will say that, but I can tell that they do. They definitely do love each other. It's just, I know, even when my cousins from my mom's side came to my dad's funeral, if you ask them, they'll be like, "Yo, your dad's side has no love," but it really is just a cultural difference that they just didn't understand. So, that translates different,
Yeah. All right, so we're back, and we're going to talk about life insurance and disability. Two very important topics that I didn't realize how important they were until I finished residency and thought, "Oh my gosh, what if something happens and I can't work and pay back all these student loans?" I guess I can talk a little bit about my life insurance that I got, why I got it, and then we can go on from there. So I have life insurance through Prudential. I got it in residency. And for those who don't, just to explain a little bit, because we'll probably talk about residency and medical school and where we are now. So the way the medical journey goes to becoming a physician that CEO and Maxine and myself went through is we did 4 years of college, 4 years of medical school. Some of us did like masters in between, but that doesn't really go towards our medical background. So 4 years of college, 4 years of medical school, and then 4 to 5 years of training. Sometimes it's 3, but most of the time 4 to 5 years of training. And so after that training, I actually got my life and my disability I got during my training and in residency. My life insurance I got when I actually got an attending job. An attending job means I'm out of training, I'm working, I'm on my own. And the reason I got the disability is because, towards the end of our programs, we have people come talk to us from these different companies, and they say, like, what, and, this is a valid question. What if something happens to you? What if you can't work anymore? You've already gone into debt for like 8, 12 years. You have all these student loans. Now, what if all of a sudden, God forbid, you got hit by a car the first day of work and you're, I know, I'm sorry. But like, a lot of our jobs, like my jobs, my hands are very important. I have to be able to, it's a very physical job. So I have to be able to move. So disability is important because my disability, the way it's set up is it will cover my income that I would make as an anesthesiologist. And I got what are called riders. So as part of it, I also got, I can actually get, even though I can't do my physical job as an anesthesiologist, I can do another job where I wouldn't have to be so physical. So even though I had a disability, I can still do that job. So it would allow me to supplement that income by doing another job. So that's why I got disability insurance. And it covers a multitude of different disabilities. In order to get this insurance, it depends on when you're getting it, but you have to go through a physical. I had to go through a physical. They, have to look at your hospital records. Dare I say that I didn't realize that I kind of kept myself from going to the doctor because I didn't want anything on my record that they could use to hold against me. So I was like, for a few months, I was like, oh, I have a cold. I'm not going anywhere. I don't want anything on my record. But anyway, they do their due diligence and then you pay a fee every month. And I think it's one of those things I don't even think about paying. It's like just a bill because it's like car insurance or like, to me, home insurance. If something happens and you're without it, it's the worst. You're screwed. So that's why I got disability insurance. And then the life insurance was because my life insurance, the amount of debt we go in as physicians is a lot of debt. And then between our house that we bought and all the other bills that we have, I wanted to make sure that if something happened to me, because this is a 2-house income, that my husband wouldn't have to worry about my loans because he has no loans. My loans would be paid off and he could pay off that. So I have a financial advisor, which I always recommend people get. And he recommended getting how much we got. So we didn't get a standard policy. I got a much larger policy so that God forbid something happens to me, house is paid, my loans are paid, other bills are paid, and there's still something for my son to go to college, stuff like that. So those are the 2 reasons why I got those. And my life insurance is through Emeritus.
Okay. Your life insurance is through what?
Emeritus.
Okay, and so my question to you is, why didn't you get it through the same company?
So that's a good question. I don't remember. I think, what they do is my financial advisor reaches out to both companies, and I think he just went with whoever had the best price. So disability insurance is much different than life insurance. There's different liabilities. So after they looked at my, whatever my health history was, Emeritus gave me the best deal and gave me the amount that I wanted. So that's why I went with them. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Makes sense. And is there, so I also have disability and life insurance, and usually disability, that's one thing Azuka did not say, is that disability insurance won't just like give you any price that you want. So let's say that you're only making $50,000 and you wanted to, obviously, let me just be realistic. So, because we have probably most of our listeners are in the medical field. So let's say you started making with the lowest possible as someone in the medical field, maybe you're part-time or full-time, but you're making maybe $160. You won't be insured for $300,000 because you don't make that. So for disability, they'll take into consideration what your salary is at the moment. So it's imperative when you do have your disability that every time that you go up in your salary, that you actually call your insurance company and let them know, so it can also go up as well. Something that, because when I got my disability insurance when I was a resident. So obviously in residency, I'm only making 60 something, right? And obviously they calculate what your potential could be, but with that being said, you always need to call them when you're going up in your salary. And I also have term life, and I got a pretty hefty policy. And the reason why I did that is probably why Azuka did it, obviously for my loan. So when if I consolidate with a private company, sometimes those don't die with you in certain private companies. So whoever is dealing with my estate after death, I would want them to have enough money to pay them off and still do whatever they need to do to be able to grieve appropriately and not have to deal with, not have to deal with the business of death and grieving at the same time. Because let me tell you, it's hard enough that you're grieving. It's worse that you're grieving and you ain't got no money and you're dealing with someone's death, because you just want to walk away from everything. I got my disability insurance all through one company. That's why I asked you, like, hey, why did you do through two companies? Which makes me think that maybe I should start shopping around for disability, but I'm already locked in because, like you said, they do a full medical workup. So I'm trying to, now I actually go to the doctor. So I don't want them to be like, oh, she had bronchitis or some shit like that. So, but yeah, I have mine through Northwestern Mutual. And they tried to sell me a whole term. And what I will say about whole term is this. Whole term is for your whole life. Term is for a certain term. So maybe to your 70, 80, 68, something like that. And the premise of only going to 70 or 68 or 80 is you hope that your adult children by that point are already set, or that you have enough investments that you can set up your adult children, right? Because life insurance is not for you. Whole term is like, from what I understand, is like another like savings account kind of that builds interest as well. The problem with that is it's almost wasting money because the premiums are so high, and for the first year, your insurance broker gets money off of it. So if you have a lot of debt, I wouldn't recommend whole term. It's almost a scam. If you have somebody from Northwestern Mutual trying to sell you that shit, that's a no for me, dog, and that's a no for you too. Unless you're really young, like maybe you signed up for when you were 19 or 20, and your premiums are $20-something, like my one cousin did. But other than that, I don't think whole term insurance, whole life insurance is actually beneficial, because you can invest on your own. So that's my story with disability.
So for me, I actually got life insurance when I was in residency. I did it backwards I got my disability after residency. And I never really knew that much about any of this, honestly, until like almost when I was graduating and realizing, like, okay, as you said, when they bring all the people in to talk to you, and you're realizing, like, man, this is important, and you need to set yourself up for success and your family up, because you don't, as you were saying, don't want them to be stressed out if, God forbid, you were, not to be here anymore. So I think it's super important for everyone, if you can afford to have some sort of life insurance as well as, disability insurance. And for disability, I went with Principal. I have two different companies, and then I went with Transamerica for life insurance. So they have like I don't know all the details. I know they have, as you said, the term, and then there's also another one called like a index universal.
Yeah.
So, for me, I wasn't really understanding of it. So I went with the index life universal, which it is a higher premium, but I guess for me, it helps for tax purposes because I get all through this through my business.
Okay.
So it's also an expense. Because I do have a business through my medicine. I'm an independent contractor, so I have a business set up.
Okay, so you're an LLC.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
So when it comes to tax purposes, I do save a lot at the end of the year with a lot of my expenses, and including like 401k and all of that stuff too. Setting up all of those things on my own. So for me, that was important. And then as you were saying with the disability, I got specialty specific disability insurance. And yeah. And I think, a conversation when you were talking about the loans that I learned, and we'll have someone come to talk about estate planning and the significance because of having certain things in trust, that with certain loans, if you have a trust, your assets in a trust, your family is not entitled to pay for it. But it has to be federal loans.
Yep.
Yeah. I thought federal loans in general, they die with you.
They do. But a lot of people consolidate
them.
Yeah.
With private. And that's happening a lot with all the scammers calling. Because I had a scammer call me this week saying that they got loan forgiveness for me. And I said, really?
Oh, yeah. I've gotten an email about that. And I ripped my new results,
So a lot of people are reconsolidating with these private, for-profit, and a company called Student Aid, because they almost got me this week, and they're getting people through that. And so once you consolidate with a private loan, depending on the state you live in, your family is on the hook for those loans.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think it's important. Anyone that's listening, definitely, if you haven't looked into it, look into disability insurance, into life insurance.
Okay, so this is actually really interesting to me. So, what made y'all go outside of the box? I guess not outside the box, but what made you think in that way? Because when you think that way, you already have a mindset of abundance, right? And I try to preach this to all my friends who are cheap on themselves to the point where it is detrimental in the long run. Mm-hmm. So when people think about life insurance policies and disability, they're thinking well, I don't have kids, it doesn't matter. But even before you guys had kids, you had this. So what made you be like, yo, I really need this because it just will make my life better? What made you think outside the box where I'm not too broke to spend the money for this, for something that won't benefit me now, or if will benefit me at all? Because you may never have to use disability insurance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but your disability, that's like asking, why do you have, to me, questioning, I can understand questioning life insurance if you're single, but to me, disability insurance is like questioning car insurance or homeowners insurance. You hope you'll never need car insurance, but if you've ever gotten into an accident, you know how that feeling is, not having insurance, having to can you imagine imagine going through all this schooling and training, and then God forbid something happens. And even with COVID, I think my disability insurance even covers neurological issues and psychological issues. It covers, because you never know what's going to happen. I can't predict the future. So I don't want to have spent 13 years doing something, and then all of a sudden that is gone, and I have no way to support myself. I have no way. The bill collectors are still going to be knocking on the door. That, to me, I didn't start thinking about life insurance until I had my son. because I wanted my son to be able to still live the same type of lifestyle in a 2-person income that he would if I was still alive. Still go to the same school, still go to, you know what I mean? So that's why I started, that's when I started. But disability, when he came to residency, I was like, sign me up. Yes, right here, where, writer, for the school loans, everything. Because I think those are the kind of things that to me are not like things that you chance around. Like, I don't have to buy the Louis bag, but I do need to pay for my disability insurance. Yeah. To me, that's important. And my life insurance.
So I think I completely agree. I feel like it's looking at your priorities, especially where you have the privilege of having a high-paying profession. It would be irresponsible, right, to spend money on other things and not have those things in place.
Oh, can you say that again, Maxine? I want all my friends to hear that. Can you say that again?
Yeah. It would be irresponsible if you have, especially if you have a high profession-paying job, to spend money on all these other things, which, yes, we all love lavish things. We want luxury, yes. But to have all those things but not have these things set in place, it doesn't make sense.
Thank you. I always say to my friends that if you are making over $100,000, you are never too broke to invest in yourself in that way. And it's to the point where, like, it bothers me when I talk to my friends and they say, well, I don't have the money. Like, what the fuck have you been doing? What are you doing?
Well, actually, I just read, somebody just posted, I think it was on Twitter or something, somebody just wrote, $100,000 is not enough anymore in 2022. And it's not what it was.
And you know what?
I'm just joking. It's a lot. It's still enough to get insurance.
It's still enough to get it. That's what I was about to say, because I was in residency and I had disability and life insurance.
Okay.
Yeah. So miss me.
$1,000 in residency. Yeah. You just have to, like, budget and allocate your money towards what's important first, and then go down that line.
You know what I do? I do direct deposit, so it comes literally the day I get paid, so I don't even miss it. Yeah. Like, it just comes right out. I don't. To me, that it's like, I don't know. To me, it's just like any other insurance you have. If something goes, like, you have to weigh. If something goes wrong, how? Like, to me, like, not getting insurance on your iPad. Okay, I understand that. If your iPad breaks and you make enough money, you can always just replace the iPad. But with things like that, you're talking about thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
Your whole income being, you never know. We're not invincible. You never know what's going to happen. Like, especially in a job where you use your hands and I use my feet and I have to be up all day.
Yeah, and I think
I was
a part of a Facebook group that I think it was EM docs or something, like emergency medicine physicians, but some, like, really would write their stories. Like, someone wrote a story about something that happened to them and they were so glad that they had it, and was basically like telling others, like, especially the younger docs, like, if you're in the newest profession, like, go get it. So I really appreciated being able to read that firsthand. Like, it can happen to, you hope it never will and you pray it never will, but it can.
It will, but
you want to make sure that you have something there to help you.
Yeah.
And the one, people will talk about the one they have at their job. The one that you have at your job is not even close to, it's like a penny in the bucket. Yeah. We have it through our job too, but it's like, it's not enough. You need
that, and the one that you have on your job has so many stipulations. So I tell all of my friends, the one you don't have disability insurance if you have it through your job.
And I think the one through your job too, you can't even work. You can't have another job. You have to, like, that disability, you can't, like, if you get a special plan, you can work. You can still do other things. But I think in the one that's tied to employment, you can't have another job. Or you have to, you have to jump through a lot of hoops. I don't know. I just think it's important. Yeah.
And if you have life insurance through your job, you ain't got no life insurance.
No.
You don't.
I don't consider it life insurance.
Yeah.
You don't, because some of them, I've seen some life insurance through your job that you have to die at the job.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Yes. So, what are we talking about here?
Yeah. Wow.
Like,
nope.
I think that's just so important. Financial literacy, like, I'm not the best, right? And I'm not a big spender. I mean, hell, I'm driving an 11-year-old Toyota Prius. But I'm not a big spender, and I spend things that make sense. And life insurance, disability insurance, especially for what we do, we, like Azuka said, like we spent so many years in training.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
And even if you want to spend, like, I understand, like, there's some people that want to spend, but make sure that these things are taken care of every month. And then whatever you say, like, every month, not to get too much into financial, but we make sure life insurance, disability, for both my husband and I have it. We make sure we put money into a brokerage account for ourselves and for our son. Then whatever is left after that, you know, obviously we pay our mortgage and stuff, but whatever is left after that, you can do whatever you want. But it's just a peace of mind knowing that, hey, I just feel at zen. I don't know why anybody would not want to get it.
I agree. I agree.
Having disability and life insurance makes me feel rich. that makes it.
It does. It does.
And I think... Go ahead. Sorry.
It makes me feel like I can walk away. Like if something happens, I can walk away and be like, deuces, I still have a little bit of money.
Yeah.
I may not be getting paid 90%, but if I'm getting paid 65 to 70% of what you're paying me,
you can make it work.
I can make it work.
Yeah.
I can make it work.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking, like, that also comes into play when we think about generational wealth. And I think that's why there's also a gap when it comes to race, honestly, among the Black community. Many times, many people don't have life insurance. I'm like, you know.
Yeah.
So that, when you look at it, look at the fact that you may not have that, and look at your kids, they may be struggling, as you're saying, like trying to figure out funeral expenses and all these things. The house isn't paid for. You know, they losing the house and things of that nature. Unlike other races that may have that, they're able to kind of pass it down. And I think that's a key when it comes to what ways that we can build generational wealth. Life insurance is one of the ways that we can do so.
And the ways that most middle class people got rich.
Yeah,
it's true. You know how many people, like colleagues that have that, you know, their tuition was paid off. First of all, they had their grandparents set up a trust fund for them, or whatever, or maybe their parents. And then somebody died and they got a huge, you know, lump sum of money that helped take care of it. So it's true. I think for some reason, I don't know, I always speak about the African community because I'm obviously African, but it's such a taboo subject. You know, like even my grandmother, she used to give, I don't know if they talked her into it, but life insurance, like, oh, like you think somebody's going to kill you for the insurance. I'm like, this is America. Like that, it's literally just so that I don't know, just the thought of me dying and my son. And I know my husband would do everything he can to give him what he already has. But for them to have to, like, you know, struggle or work or like, be grieving, like you said, Theo, and then have to worry about, like, you know, this and that. And now we're one person, like, it's just, to me, it just doesn't make sense. And it would make me horribly sad. And it's like, what was the point of everything then, you know? So.
And, I mean, piggybacking off of that, like, you talked about the quickest way into poverty is when another spouse dies and they don't have anything. And then what usually happens, and I can only speak on immigrant children, the parent of immigrant children hopes that their child is their savior out of whatever financial crisis that they're in. And, like, that's a lot of pressure, you know? Like, to say that, oh, you know, this child is going to be my retirement fund. No. No. Because, especially our generation, statistically, we are doing worse than the baby boomers in America. So that's a lot of pressure to put on just when you yourself as an adult or as a parent do not have life insurance.
Yeah.
So
I think a death for us would really rock our families. I could be speaking, maybe I'm speaking out of turn. Whereas people who have, like, you know, in America, they have generations and land and houses and bonds and all this stuff. Somebody dies, you know, it's not going to rock the foundation of that family, but we're first generation, right? So we're kind of building our wealth. Yeah. So God forbid something happens to myself or my husband and I both got life insurance. Like in fact, before we took our trip to Nigeria in March 2020, we made, estate guru or something. We made a living will, or we made a will, and then we made sure that I was not getting on the plane until we both had life insurance because something happened to us, and we did something that we'll never do again. We flew together. That's another thing that we're not going to do again. If we do fly together, then we're taking our son. So if something happens, God forbid, this start turning morbid. But this is how I think. I'm telling you, I have issues.
So it's like you're all together or never? Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's all together or we fly separate. No, because like God forbid something happens on the plane, that's two parents gone. Whereas if it's, I know that's what I don't know, but I think about things like every time I have my son, that's what I think about. Yes, I think about those things. In fact, his parents, that when they were growing up, that's what they did. They would fly separate, on separate flights anytime they flew. But anyway, I digress. But I think I don't know. I think it's just I don't think there's any excuse that I have, especially like the life insurance. If you're single, I can kind of get, sort of in a way, but you're still leaving people on the hook for stuff.
Yeah.
I think the problem is that people don't know because they think that when they die, all their stuff dies with them. And they don't realize. I think they don't show. I don't know if it's because we don't learn it or they don't really show the aftermath of when somebody. They kind of show like the person dying, but I've never seen on TV like the aftermath of what people have to go through after somebody dies, especially if they're single and don't have family. Well, so in my head, I'm thinking,
it's because it's truly the business of death, right? So you pay for the funeral and then you think everything is done. Yeah. But depending on when that person died, you still have to file their taxes.
Yes,
because they were alive that year.
Yeah.
You have to settle their debts, especially if they don't have a will. You still have to go through probate court. It may not be a big deal depending on like what they had, because there's people that go through probate court just so they can be the executor and just basically tell people, yo, this person ain't got no money, right? So probate court does not necessarily have to be a bad thing, but it could also be a bad thing. It could also cost a lot of money. You know, there is definitely a business of death. For all those people, I'm about to be morbid. For all those people that have a child who is in these streets, take out an accidental death policy on them. Might as well, because of GoFundMe, because Ray, Jim, James got shot. Accidental death policy is real cheap.
Do they consider getting shot at accidental death?
Yeah.
Really? Okay. I didn't know. See, all these things I never.
Accidental death and dismemberment insurance policy, and that's the cheapest one that you can probably get without. I think without a medical. Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
But it has to be like, it has to say like, there's different things of how much you'll get paid out with your accidental death or dismemberment. And the reason why I know that is because I'm just going to diverge my personal information. My family thought that my dad had like a traditional life insurance. I don't know why they thought that. Well, actually, I do know why, but we ain't going to get into that. Anyways, so they thought that he did, but really he only had accidental death and dismemberment. And unless he decided, I don't know, to die by a car crash or something crazy like that, there's no way you can get that life insurance policy. So I didn't even like file for it because I read the policies and I was like, oh, he's not getting this. Like, and that's what happens. What I've noticed is like older people, they try to get that, you know, just to say that they have something, but that's just a waste. You just don't have a regular life insurance. It's a waste.
Yeah.
So
interesting. Did not know that.
It's better to get that for somebody who's in these streets or like a daredevil.
Yeah.
So
that's cool. Well, we'll definitely have some experts on that can talk about this more specifically. But I'll say that I'm all hands down. There's no reason that I can think of not to get disability and life insurance, especially if you're a
when you're a high
professional
earner.
and high paying job. Yeah, I think it's important, and especially if you do, I think even if you don't use your hands and it's not physical, you should just get it. Because it's not just, breaking your arm or losing your arms. It's like even a lot of them cover neurological issues, psychological issues. You never know what can happen. I'm not a Russian roulette type of person. I'm like, give me all the insurance. I'm the kind of person that gets all the insurance. I'm sorry.
even at the rental place.
Yes, I want all the insurance. But ma'am, you have your own insurance. I want your insurance. Yes, because I always see it as they're gonna try to have come up with some story that you didn't have this, and it's the worst experience. Even like when we got our house, we were on the phone with the guy, and he was like, "Do you want earthquake insurance?" Usually people don't get that because this is not California. I was like, "I want earthquake insurance," because of course, didn't we not get tornadoes the other day? And there were no tornadoes. No, I want earthquake. I got earthquake insurance. Got one. Tack that right on. It's extra $9.99 a month. Thank you very much. When I have earthquake.
Okay.
I'm the insurance person. So maybe it's not good to listen to me because I'm the kind of person that, does the most.
Did you get mortgage death insurance?
What's that?
So I guess you wouldn't really have to do that because you're married. But my mom, at the time of when they bought their house, I don't know if they still have it, but she doesn't have it now. But it's like mortgage death insurance that she had, and basically, if she died before the mortgage was paid off, then that insurance the mortgage would be automatically paid off.
Oh, wow.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. But it only lasts for as long as you have a mortgage. So as soon as you paid off the mortgage, then obviously you don't have the insurance anymore.
Oh, that's cool. I wonder if that's better than getting...
And you have to have signed up for it usually you have to sign up for it when you buy the house.
Oh,
I wonder if that's with PMI.
No, that's mortgage insurance. That's for them. That's not for you.
That's for them. That's not for you.
That's for the company to make sure that if you don't pay your bill, they have their insurance.
Okay.
Yeah. I wonder if I wonder if it's better to get that than it is to get like a big life insurance policy. Like maybe you can get a lower life insurance policy and then get them. I don't know. I feel like it's splitting hairs, but that's interesting. I didn't even know that existed. But I do know I got my earthquake insurance.
Okay. I mean, maybe you're on,
tectonic plates.
A fault in Pennsylvania. Usually you're not, but live life, sis.
Protected. He wants to be protected.
Just in case. Have you ever heard of did you ever hear of tornadoes in New Jersey before they had that storm last year?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
I had never heard of no tornadoes in New Jersey.
Tornadoes in the Midwest. Welcome to Pennsylvania.
Are we in the Midwest?
Yes.
No, we're not.
You are not in. You're in the Midwest.
We're the East Coast. Don't try to play me.
Okay.
That's not that part of Pennsylvania is not us. That's more like, and I don't even know, Pittsburgh, right?
I guess Pennsylvania has tornadoes.
We're gonna wrap up soon. I don't know why my computer is 12%, even though it's charging.
See,
oh gosh,
I'm just
Lord.
so happy that my computer is not the one with problems anymore.
All right, we good, guys?
I'm great.
Well, we need to do a wrap up.
Oh yeah, sorry. All right, so like I said, yes, we'll have more some specialists come in and give us more advice about disability and life insurance to kind of compare the two. But I don't know the difference between term and whole, and who should get it, who should not get it. So we'll try to get somebody on the podcast that can go into more details. But please, please, please like the podcast if you enjoyed it. Share it. Tell all your friends and your friends' friends and your moms and dads and grandmas and grandpas to watch the show. Am I missing anything else, ladies?
Where they can watch us on all platforms, and you can also follow us at LLM Podcast on Instagram and YouTube, Love, Life, and Medicine. And send your questions, feedback to lovelifeandmedicine@gmail.com.
Or DM us. DM us, yes, DM us.
At LLM podcast.
Mm-hmm.
All right. All right. Good night, ladies.
For watching. Bye.
Thanks for watching.
All right, thanks for watching.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
guys.
Bye.
Fingers.